at least that top floor.
Yeah.
And no doubt the water and the smoke has now just engulfed that entire condo building. I did just send a text message to Marilyn Jimenez Davila with the Red Cross LA Regional Center to see if they can give me a number on how many people they might be helping, assisting, right, with these after they were evacuated from this condo complex there.
And this is the Vista Verde condominiums in Lomita. Jasmine, we were just looking up online to try to get information about what this condo looks like. We know it does sit on the 2100 block of Palos Verdes Drive North. We saw across from, it looked like a Jack in the Box. I'm looking up some of these units, and many of them look to be 2-bedroom, 2-bath condos that people purchase as opposed to rent, but I'm sure you have renters as well. They look to be rather large, 1,500 square feet, anywhere from 1,000 to 1,700 square feet, 2-bedroom, 2-bath. So you can imagine these are areas where families would live, you know, whether they just be grown adults or, you know, people with kids. This is a very large complex. We believe at least 25 units, 2 stories. And for a majority of these people, just looking at this, they have lost their home tonight. Again, firefighters could not tell us. It's very early on in this firefight. They could not tell us what may have ignited this. We tried to ask who made that initial call. Many times they can get information from that. They did not have that information just yet.
Yeah.
Of course, again, they're still fighting this fire. It's hard to get all that information right now. Their priority is just to get these flames under control.
So they're going on about an hour and a half now fighting this condominium fire there on Palos Verdes Drive North, the 2100 block in the city of Lomita, a second alarm fire that has engulfed this condo complex. We are not sure how many people had to be evacuated, if there were any rescues or really any serious injuries. As far as the public information officer with LA County Fire could tell us, he had no reports that there were any kind of rescues or injuries, but he had to get back to the scene, so he did not have a good grasp on, you know, if he was going to encounter that when he got there. But at least as far as he could tell, he had not heard about any of those injuries or rescues taking place.
And you would hope, of course, that is a good news. Many times, if something like that did have to happen, they would have immediate knowledge of that,
right? Because
that would be information that is
and mass casualty, and using those ambulances to get them to the hospital. So yeah, it is still roaring. This is live from KCAL, and you are still looking at these flames. I mean, they are not giving up easy here as these firefighters continue to battle the flames and try to put it out from the roof right next to it. You could see how close they are, just face to face with the smoke, surrounded by smoke, and the job that these firefighters have, and what, as we know, what they go through. I mean, they're putting their lives on the line here.
Every time, especially, you know,
and
when you see the firefighters on the ladders, or when you see the ones standing on that roof that you know, they don't know just how stable it is. They do checks, and they hope, you know, it will be stable enough. But we saw that smoke going through the roof that the firefighters were standing on, just to fight these flames from every single vantage point that they can. Of course, the best being the ladder, because they just can douse it with water. But at this point, it's pretty much about trying to get these flames at any point, because that's what they can do. They can't go in right now. This situation's just, too dangerous.
A lot of those like vents and those air conditioning units just causing, it almost just looks like an inferno as they, you know, you can see right into the condos there. From the top of the roof here, but a lot of those vents, and I'm guessing chimneys from some of these condos had fireplaces, is what it said, some of these 2-bedroom condos. So maybe those were the chimneys that have now, you know, the fire just kind of got up inside of those and just burning very, very hot and quick.
Yeah. I'm trying to check with our assignment desk right now if they're hearing anything possibly from the LA County Fire Department, or even on the scanners. A lot of time that's where they're getting a lot of their information minute by minute. Trying to see if we can get a current update right now. The last update we got was about 30 minutes ago from LA County, who told us obviously they're still in defensive mode right now. They had very little information about any rescues or how many people had to be evacuated. But we do know about 150 firefighters were there on the ground. This again all happening on the 2100 block of Palos Verdes North at the Vista Verde Apartments here in Lomita.
Yeah, this 25-unit condominium, 2 stories, built back in the 1980s with parking underneath. And you think about just how many people have been impacted. This is just devastating to see. I mean, just roaring through and burning up. It's going to be obviously a loss to so many of these families. As long as they got out safely, though, and they're able to protect their loved ones, their pets.
Okay.
Oh, this is good. I just heard from our director. Okay, we're trying to get Craig Little, the public information officer, back on the phone with us because he had stepped away to try to get more information. So hang with us. We are calling him right now, and we're going to put him back on the air.
Latest information. It would be great to speak with him and just try to get any information, especially for, I'm sure, the people that live in this area, the people that live at this apartment complex, know someone that lives there. They're probably wondering, is everyone okay? Yeah. I know that's something, Jazz, you and I are wondering. Was everyone able to get out okay?
It's a lot of people
It's a lot of people, and you wonder, it's a Saturday. Was everyone home at the time? Do they have pets, children? There's a lot that goes through your head when you see something like this, just because of how fast this fire moved.
And I know we report on these house fires, these apartment fires, when they happen overnight. This was around 7 p.m., but when you get one of these fires, all I can think of is, if anything, if this happened at 7, people were awake, they were out at dinner, just getting ready for bed, or kind of settling down, not 2 in the morning, as we've shown up on some of these scenes, and it's caught so many people by surprise that they just sadly and tragically haven't been able to get out in time when it's 2 or 3 in the morning. But okay, we have Craig Little back on the phone. Craig, thank you so much for jumping back on. What do we know about evacuations, injuries? Tell us.
I'm sorry for the noise. Currently, we don't have any reports of injuries to either fire personnel or civilians. And we are still actively engaged with some active fire right now. This has been balanced to a second alarm, and we have approximately 150 fire personnel on this fire.
Craig, I'm looking at this, and it's hard to, I'm so glad to hear that there are no injuries, because you see the flames and the smoke, and I just think, wow, that everyone got out relatively okay.
Yeah, like I said before, there's been no reports of injury as of yet, and we hope it stays that way. We won't get a full handle on this until the fire's extinguished.
Right.
So, but yeah, we're still actively involved with this fire.
Now, we saw that the fire, of course, you've told us that fire crews are in defensive mode, but we saw several crews on a roof. It looked like an adjacent building. Could you tell us anything about the tactics being used now by fire crews there on the ground? And if that other building may be threatened by these flames?
Well, currently, we're right now what we are considered defensive mode. The crews that you see actually on the roof right now, they are acting. I can't really see exactly where they are. I'm right where the command post is, but they would probably be on the other building, making sure the fire doesn't spread to the uninvolved building.
Sure. What's so difficult about this type of fire? I mean, talk about the challenges that these firefighters are up against.
Well, anytime you have a large apartment complex, you're going to have units that are connected to each other, and then a short burn time in between those walls that spreads from one unit to another in a rapid fashion, depending on how hot that fire is.
Do we know how many units may be involved right now?
As of right now, I can't give you an estimate, an accurate estimate right now. We have a few battalion chiefs. We have a few truck companies. We have many engine companies, as well as hazmat units on scene right now.
Yeah.
Hazmat and urban search and rescue units.
Okay, so because obviously they're there just so they can go in, because you really can't confirm if there are, I guess, potentially people or animals inside, or I mean.
Yeah. When we're in this, I'm sorry, one moment. Generally, when we're at this stage of development of the fire, and we're still in the process of extinguishing the most active fire, we really can't make entry into anywhere until that's handled first.
Ugh.
So as of right now, we can say that there are no reports of injuries to firefighters or civilians.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know, Craig, when firefighters got to the scene, what was that like? Were people, did you get any kind of a sense or details about what was that when they arrived? What was it like?
Well, all I can tell you is when units were responding, they were dispatched at 6:42 in the evening to a structure fire. Once they got there, they witnessed heavy smoke and fire coming from one of the units, and that's when we decided to balance it to a second alarm fire with additional units to fight this fire. That's the best I can tell you right now. The first aid engine company is really hard at work right now, so I can't really give you a full report on this. Everybody is really working hard right now, so they really don't have enough time to talk to me right now.
No, that completely makes sense. And we thank you, of course, for your time. I'm not going to let you go just yet, but we can see them hard at work here, both on the roof, on the ladders. You know, Craig, you told us when you arrived, you were seeing maybe what looked like a pet running across the street. What was the scene like when you arrived there? Are you seeing many residents nearby?
I didn't see any residents nearby. Once I arrived on Palos Verdes Drive North, there were a few residents outside of the building, pretty far away from the building itself. And then I went down the hill where the active fire was. So, yeah, I didn't see many residents. I saw maybe 3 or 4, and they may be staged somewhere else right now.
Sure. Do you know if, Craig, Red Cross is there, or where that shelter might be getting set up at?
I'm sorry.
Oh, Red Cross. Have you heard about a Red Cross shelter or anything like that that we can give people watching?
I will find that for you in a moment. Things are pretty dynamic right now.
Sure.
Once we get a little settled here, I'll be able to get you that information.
You know, we're getting obviously a bird's eye view from KCAL. It looks like the roof has completely collapsed of this building, but we do know that it is 2 stories. I have seen some of the lower level units, and some of them do look possibly to be untouched. Is that the case? Does it look like the flames are more towards the top unit? I can imagine the bottom, of course, are completely gone, but it doesn't look like it has completely, this building hasn't completely fallen through, at least.
Yeah, it's difficult for me to say exactly because I'm not actually there. I'm down where the fire, close to where the fire started. I can see them applying heavy amounts of water. Hold on one moment. Just making a little walk down here. So yes, it's a 2-story apartment complex, but let me make it clear that the very first floor is parking. So it's parking, then the first floor, and then the second floor. So essentially, we're looking at 3 stories if you're including the parking structure.
And Craig, you must, I mean, there's so much to burn, and that's why this is so stubborn also to get out. I mean, these flames, it's just, and from what you're seeing, I'm sure you're just seeing, yeah, you said a large amount of water, and it just seems, how long is this going to take with your experience?
It's really difficult to say in this situation right now. I'm still looking at active flames. They're not as hot and heavy as when I first arrived. I went to my vehicle, came back, and just the amount of water that's being put out. I actually walked through knee-deep water down where the parking was. So that gives you an idea of exactly how much water is being poured on this fire.
Wow. Let's just talk about the day these firefighters have had. Many of your crews, of course, we know prior to this, although you guys are equipped to handle a fire of this magnitude. Earlier today, you guys were dealing with this massive storm, right? We're talking about water rescues, potential rescues with people possibly in accidents and stuff like that. Has this been a busy day for fire crews?
I'm not sure to tell you the truth exactly what was going on earlier. You know, we were expecting a heavy rainfall today, and especially this area in Lomita is so close to the Palos Verdes area, where you've seen a lot of devastation with homes after rains, even before the rains, and just the unstable conditions that they have on the land over there. So I would imagine they were probably dealing with some falls here, but I couldn't tell you exactly what was going on earlier.
No, definitely. We know it's been a busy day just for fire crews, probably all across the Southland. And, you know, Craig, we definitely report on fires of this magnitude, but I can't tell you the last time I've seen this big of a fire at an apartment, just rip through an apartment complex like this. It just, these images that we're showing just look absolutely devastating on the ground for you. What's that like?
We can only hope for the best, that there was no one inside. Everyone was evacuated, including Beth. And again, we won't have any more detail on that. But this is always going to be a devastating situation for anybody who dwells in a large apartment complex like this, because everything they own is probably in there, and they are essentially homeless. They are displaced right now.
Yeah, it's really hard to see, especially because we're looking at some of these condos that were listed for sale, many of them 2-bedroom, 2-bath, you know, 1,500 square feet. You can imagine families possibly live there. So this is just absolutely devastating. KCAL is going to have to go refuel for some time. We do have some video to show you from earlier this evening when this fire started right around 6:45. But KCAL, you know, they've been up there for quite some time and now have to go refuel.
So not to think that the flames, that you're going to see some larger flames here in the next few seconds here from earlier in the night when this fire was just really ripping through this apartment complex. So again, KCAL is going to leave, and you can see some of the flames, like Craig Little there said, have died down. They continue to dump a massive amount of water on this fire. Craig, again, I appreciate the time. Is there any other updates you can give us?
Not as right now.
Okay.
You can give us a call back a little later.
Okay. Thank you so much. I know you have to step away and do your thing, so I appreciate it. As he's
Thank you.
said, he's you know, been wading through knee-deep water, walking through, trying to get a sense of where this fire is burning. He said it started on one end of this condo complex and then just so quickly spread right before 7 o'clock tonight.
Yeah, and I will tell you, as I'm watching KCAL leave, I know the viewers can't see this, but there is a massive fire presence there right now. We know this is a second alarm fire, but we are talking about battalion chiefs there, multiple ladders there as well. You can see this fire from miles away. KCAL is miles from this fire, and I can still see the amount of presence there. And of course, what you're looking at right now is the roof that has completely collapsed of this condominium complex in Lomita. This is the Vista Verde condos. We know at the 2100 block of Palos Verdes North, we spoke to Craig Little. He's the public information officer with the LA County Fire Department, who is fighting this, both, you know, in the air and on the ground, telling us, you're right, Jazz. He says there's so much water being dumped on this that it was knee deep as he walked through. Right now, they do have urban search and rescue there and hazmat units, but they cannot go in because they're on defensive mode right now. It's about trying to get these flames secure enough for them to go in, so they couldn't. As of right now, we know there are no injuries. That unfortunately may change as we learn more about this and they're able to get in this building. But for right now, we don't believe there has been anyone injured, both people who live at this condo complex and firefighters.
Right, and he just says he hopes it stays that way, as we all do, of course. And again, as the crews continue to fight this from the ladders, from nearby roofs, from the ground, keeping everyone a safe distance back. Craig Little there with the LA County Fire said he was only able to really walk past a handful of residents, what he thought were residents, kind of standing further back. He saw a stray dog running away from the condo complex here toward that group of people. I just, you just hope that we're not going to get, the news that we're all, you're dreading, that he, no reports of injuries right now, no reports of any kind of rescues. But yeah, this is a very large complex, and they're going to have to go through room by room.
Yeah, and it's going to take a while for them to get to that point. But I will tell you, this is from moments ago. As we've been monitoring this fire, it does look like they have gained an upper hand on these flames here. It does look like they're making progress, which of course is the hope. But as Craig Little said, he's a firefighter who's been doing this for years. He's seen many of these fires and has been on the front lines. He, in his own words, called this just devastating because he knows that so many families are now homeless. They're displaced. Yeah. They do not have a home to go back to, and any of their belongings that were in that home are completely destroyed. And at this point, you just hope that no lives were lost.
Absolutely. It is so sad to see this. He mentioned that with a large apartment complex like this, the fire spreads so quickly because it's a short burn time from one wall to the next, from one condo complex or one condo unit to the next. And so it just spreads so quickly. And especially if it started in an area of the roof. And he seemed to say that as you can see here from moments ago, this video, the parking structure seems to be unaffected. So it started in that upper level, which then collapsed the roof and just swept across.
As he said, right around 6:42 is when they got those first reports. When the first crews showed up, it looked like one unit was fully engulfed in smoke and flames. And from that point, as you mentioned, Jazz, and as Craig Little mentioned, that it was able to just sweep through all of these apartment complexes because there are all these walls attached to each other, so it makes it so easy for the flames to continue to spread.
Just hope everyone
so
was able
quickly.
to get out.
And you hope that that's the case. The fire alarms were working. You hope that people were able to get a notice from neighbors if their alarm possibly wasn't working. But at this point, this again is a video from KCAL earlier tonight. This is not live, although the situation does remain rather the same right now, as fire crews, we know, are still in defensive mode trying to get an upper hand on these flames.
And it sounds like the firefighters even struggled to make entry right when they arrived. Like, that's how strong and already involved this fire was on this condo complex, even in one unit. When firefighters showed up, they said there was heavy smoke, there was already a lot of fire, and they had to jump into that defensive mode pretty quickly. Getting those ladder trucks up, making this a second alarm, moving in and calling on those extra units, so not just the one station responding. Now they have several battalion chiefs there, multiple ladder trucks, 150 personnel. Again, this is a video just a few moments ago. KCAL had to go refuel, but this is what the fire looked like for the better part of an hour and a half. Just stubborn flames and big flames tearing through the roof of this condo complex on the southern peninsula there in the city of Lomita.
And what he mentioned was these fire crews possibly had a busy day. You know, they're right next to the Palos Verdes Peninsula, which has seen a lot of area with the landslides anytime there's a rain, especially in one of the communities there where the homes continue to move because the land underneath them is moving. So fire crews, of course, had a very busy day just monitoring the area, responding to any calls they did with that spring storm we had earlier and continue to have because we are expecting rain tonight. If you're not seeing it in your neighborhood, you probably will through the night. But then they get these calls, and a second alarm fire means they need more resources. Right now we know LA County Fire is there, but if this continues, of course, they may ask surrounding agencies to help out as well. But they have battalion chiefs there, as you mentioned, Jasmine. We saw some ambulances on the ground, although, again, we did not see any active movement with the ambulances. They weren't rushing around to rescue anyone. But of course, they're on standby not only for possibly civilians or people living in that area, but also for firefighters who have now been fighting this blaze for close to 2 hours.
Yeah, and you mentioned, I mean, how busy these fire departments, these firefighters have been. dealing with water rescues, dealing with any kind of other land movement there in the South Bay. And then on top of that, with this fire, all the resources now focused on this as the rain hopefully has tapered off a little bit, but we know more is on the way. So they were staffed up for that, as they do with these rain events here in Southern California. But at this point, you see a large response with all those fire trucks behind the complex there, lining the street with the lights flashing. And it looks like they have been able to keep those flames from moving to that the other building right adjacent to this. It looks like it might be part of the same complex, but firefighters were on the roof there keeping those flames back. They were, you know, surrounded by the smoke and the flames. And okay, so we have made it. Our reporter and our photographer have made it there on the ground. So that is on the left. That's a live look now at the efforts being made. And you can just see the smoke there. But I mean, again, KCAL showing the extent of this fire all across the roof of this building. I see our photographer's pulling back. I think it's Lauren Posen is there at the scene, correct?
Yeah,
She's trying to set up. Yep.
You can see one of those ladders, at least, in the firefighter on the ladder, just still dousing this building with water, both there on the ground, and you can see this firefighter on a roof. Don't know how close they are to the actual flames, but there are crews definitely on the ground with hose, and then you have the ladder crews. I'm going to guess this person is not as close, given that they are taking off some of their gear here. And of course, if they were close enough, all that smoke would be a problem for them. This area, I can imagine, even where Lauren's standing,
taking a breather.
It's hard to breathe because of all the smoke in the air. Now, I was just checking social media here on some earlier video, and it looked like at some point fire crews were dealing with possibly what looked like transformers maybe had exploded in that area. It did look like some wiring did sit around this building.
You said a lot of trees too, but I have not seen any of those catch fire.
And that is good to hear.
But you see the top of the roof there, and I was mentioning those chimneys in those condos, and you see a lot of the chimneys are now burning.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like, I'm not sure if we got any information on a transformer exploding, but if we are able to get that confirmed, it looked like at some point that was a very dangerous situation for these firefighters because they were on a ladder very close, sitting high above. If there was any type of explosion, which we see many times in massive fires like this, that would have been a very dangerous situation, of course, for them. Again, on the left here, a live picture on the ground. This is as close as our crews can get because as you can imagine, they are being told to stay back as this is a very active firefight. You're looking at several LA County firefighters here on what looks like a roof that's near this apartment building, just trying to gather some of their equipment. You see one with a chainsaw there. Another one looks to be holding some sort of axe or pick that they probably use to cut holes through the roof. Many times they do that to just try to get some ventilation out of the building. It helps then control this fire and control the smoke. So it looks like possibly this crew is in charge of doing that. But of course, this fire still very stubborn.
Yeah, I see where you're, some people are, reporting that some transformers might have fueled this fire and were exploding there. We know that, you know, usually is the case with these big complexes. You have a lot of the electrical wires surrounding it, and so that and all the other ventilation, air ducts, and then the cars underneath. We were hoping it wouldn't reach any of the vehicles and cause those to explode as well. But this is not only a condo complex, but it's a very large one with the 25 units. But
at least 25 units, we know that. Again, this all started, we know, in just one part of the building. We saw video when our chopper first got over it, when KCAL first got over it. You could still make out much of the building, Jazz. And then we come back to it maybe 30 minutes later, and it looked like the entire building was fully engulfed. At this point, the roof has collapsed of this building, and we know many families probably displaced without a home tonight. We're still working to get information from Red Cross to see if there is an evacuation area that people can go. Of course, once we get that information, we will bring it to you. In just a few moments here, we are going to have to take a commercial break. But at this point, we will leave you with views of what you're looking at, a massive condo building on fire in the Lomita area.
And we'll be right back.
Wow. This new Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear is so soft and so smooth. I'm starting to get tearied away. Ah, thank you, Mr. Smooth Bear.
Designed with smooth tear edges, new Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear has wavy perforations that tear so much better for a smooth, more enjoyable go.
Mom, you okay in there?
I'm terrific.
I want to show you a visual of what is happening, and I'm here to help.
It's that time.
Fire, and that just means they need even more fire crews there, even more firefighters, as well as possibly more ladders, fire trucks on the scene, because this fire still very stubborn. Again, to your right, this is earlier tonight. This is what the fire still possibly looks like right now. On the left, you're seeing from a farther area there, you are seeing fire crews on the ground as they do continue to battle what we know is a very large apartment building fire. This here, the Vista Verde condominium complex in Lomita. Just looking at some of the history, we know at least 25 units, and it looks like those units have now fully
Destroyed.
Been gone.
Yeah, and so much work and hard work by these firefighters as they are there with battalion chiefs, multiple truck companies, and again, a third alarm fire now with more units there on scene, including hazmat and urban search and rescue waiting to move in. But they had to wait for those flames to die down. They've been dumping so much water on this that one of the public information officers told us that he was knee deep in the water as he made his way closer to the ground floor units of this condo complex on Palos Verdes Drive South. But now, no reports of any injuries so far. We asked about rescues or evacuations. As far as he could tell, firefighters arrived. They could not even make entry because the flames and the smoke already were so intense. But again, they need to go in there and assess the damage. But he is, as we all are, hoping it stays that way with no reports of any injuries or casualties.
And at this point, we do know that hazmat units and urban search and rescue units are on scene, as well as several ambulances. But as you mentioned, Jasmine, we heard from the public information officer with LA County Fire, and they tell us so far he has not had any word of anyone needing to be rescued or anyone injured. But of course, urban search and rescue units are there because once they're able to get a handle on this fire, they'll have to go inside this building and go to each of these units to make sure everyone, including their pets, were able to make it out okay. At this point, we don't have any word on if that is the case. We're hoping that is the case. And at this point, they believe everyone has made it out okay. But earlier we spoke to the public information officer, who also told us when he got on scene, he noticed just a few residents still nearby. He also said he saw a dog running from the building to people standing nearby. He assumed possibly was at least in the area or had gotten lost in some capacity there. It has been very chaotic, I'm sure, for these residents here. Firefighters just at this point in defensive mode, trying to get as many units here to continue to get an upper hand on this fire.
We heard it was an explosive fire. I mean, there was a lot of stuff to burn, obviously, as you think about everything that these 25 different condo units had inside. You also see the chimneys burning. They they came with fireplaces. Many were, I think, the 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom condos. The cars are parked underneath. So I still see some of the cars that are parked there, but do not appear to be burned. But you can see that top floor. It's a 2-story condo building there, and the top floor is just burned all the way through. And the explosions may be coming from transformers, maybe the air conditioning units on top, or the electrical boxes
that sit on top of these buildings many times. Yeah, that definitely makes sense, Jasmine, but you could see that the roof of at least the top of this building completely caved in, has now just fallen through. We do know this is a 2-story apartment complex.
Yeah, the whole building's going to be gone.
Yeah, the whole building is going to be gone at this point. It does look, though, that some of those cars, as you mentioned, do remain untouched at this point, but this now reaching a 3rd alarm fire, which means more resources are needed, and firefighters just do not yet have the upper hand.
It's stubborn, and there is a lot to burn. And obviously, with the wet weather, that's not helping their efforts at all, with whatever rain may be coming down now. But yeah, we saw some people clustered around Jack in the Box and a gas station on their phones with very little, maybe a jacket. I saw one guy wearing a jacket with his hood up, so maybe it was raining a little bit, but just, it is chaotic, and you're trying to figure out where your loved ones are, maybe where your animals are. So, and speaking of the weather, we're going to be tossing to our meteorologist, Olga Spina, for a check of that as we continue to monitor the situation here on Palos Verdes Drive North.
Yeah, and at this point, before we get to Olga, our live picture here, you can see multiple fire hose. They are trying to drown this building out. You can't see any of the flames. You do see plenty of smoke, but I do believe we do have reports that there's still plenty of flames, especially if they're upgrading this to a 3rd alarm fire. That is because firefighters are still in defensive mode, and they just still do not have the upper hand on this. Do we have Olga ready just yet? Okay, we do want to get to Olga Ospina, who is tracking, of course, not only the weather here in Lomita, but across the Southland. Olga, first and foremost, is it raining in this area? I know firefighters said it wouldn't help massively, but you can imagine that any bit of rain may help this situation.
Yeah, and we do expect that area to get a little bit of rain. It's really moving through a little bit more isolated in nature, so we're not seeing that really steady rain that we saw earlier this morning. But yes, expecting to get some rain there in Lomita. And I'll show you our futurecast and what's happening right now, because we are seeing some wet weather. Again, not quite as steady as what we saw earlier in the day. Want to start you off with a look at Santa Monica. That's our Santa Monica camera, and you can see some some drops on the lens, but right there we're also looking at mostly dry conditions at this hour. I want to take a look at our radar. We're seeing some lightning strikes, so we've been talking about that potential for thunderstorm activity. We've been seeing that off the coast of Santa Barbara. As we head a little bit closer to home, though, we're just seeing those scattered showers across our area, but yes, some moderate to heavy downpours for some of us as we head into some of those higher elevations, really mostly for Santa Barbara County. But this little cell that's sitting just offshore of Ventura County, that's going to continue to push east, and that means Oxnard, you're going to be hit with some wet weather as we head into the next 41 minutes. For Thousand Oaks, you're coming up in just over an hour, as is the case for Simi Valley, Santa Clarita, and then moving into Lancaster. So we're just seeing these isolated cells moving across our region. Here's another one through that Long Beach area, which is very close to the Lomita area, and we're looking at 16 minutes until it reaches Seal Beach. Westminster in about a half hour, about close to an hour for Garden Grove. As we head into the next hour, Anaheim, and a little over that for La Habra. But we'll get to your futurecast and show you what it's going to look like as we head into later tonight and what it's going to look like when you wake up on Sunday morning. That's coming up in just a few minutes.
Olga, thank you. And of course, we will continue to monitor that condominium fire in Lomita. But for now, we want to get to more on our storm watch because Big Bear got hit hard with snow.
Yeah, it's leaving some drivers there stranded while trying to get up the mountain. We have KCAL News reporter Lori Perez live in Big Bear with conditions there right now, all bundled up, Lori.
That's right. The snow has started. It's actually a pretty clear, pleasant, but cold evening here. But you're right. We saw it all on our way up here. It was raining and then it was snowing really hard. It was really dark. All of that made for some very slow and difficult conditions traveling. The crew at Snow Summit, we spoke with them earlier today. They say they easily got upwards of a foot of snow since just this morning. Dozens of cars ran into trouble on Highway 18 through Crestline and Lake Arrowhead as the snow fell hard and fast Saturday. Drivers not ready for the weather found themselves spinning out as they got buried by blizzard-like conditions. By afternoon, Caltrans raised requirements mandating chains on all vehicles. That's the sound of our chains pounding with every turn of the tires. As we were making our way to Big Bear, roads were covered in a slushy mess, keeping travel slow and difficult as a snowy, rainy mix continued falling. Some drivers we spoke with were taking it easy.
I'm the driver, though. I lived in Utah for a little bit, so we have a little experience driving in snow, not too much, but.
And not at this time of year.
This isn't normal for us typically out here. I mean, it's usually pretty warm by this time of the year and all the snow melts.
Not normal is great news for anyone planning to hit the slopes, like Tita Esquivel and her family.
It's the best snow for the season. It's been the worst season until today.
What do you like about this snow?
That it's like we actually have some.
It's also welcomed by Hawaii native Casey Fisher. He moved here a few years ago and is still in the honeymoon phase of dealing with snow.
Yeah, it's fun because we don't get that over there, you know. Yeah. So I didn't see snow till I was like 22.
Same for Valerie Sagamini, who will try something new today.
Yeah, I don't know what snow tubing is like, so we'll try it out. No, I've never gone.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be awesome.
I'm excited.
It's a little bit much. My hair is frozen.
So we have a bunch of people who are hoping that conditions stay clear and beautiful like it is now for tomorrow. Both people who want to go skiing and snowboarding, they want it to be nice and sunny and clear of snow. And also people who are hoping to get down the mountain. They, of course, want it to be as safe and as clear as possible. We are live in Big Bear tonight. I'm Lori Perez. Back to you.
Scary.
Oh, yeah, very scary situation there. This crash here caught on camera in Van Nuys, a disabled car hit by another driver early this morning on the 101 just east of the 405. And of course, we should preface this by saying there were no injuries reported here.
Wow, rain and snow across the Inland Empire, leaving some facing those dangerous conditions.
Yeah, KCAL News reporter Nicole Comstock continues our Storm Watch team coverage live in Rancho Cucamonga tonight. How are the conditions out there? It looks dry.
Well, ladies, it is cold out here tonight in Rancho Cucamonga. It's about 46 degrees, but it does feel a little bit colder because we're pretty close to the base of the mountains here. You're right, it has been dry out here across the Inland Empire for several hours now, but all of that rain we got earlier in the day, earlier in the morning, came with a few problems.
Snow in Cali.
Snow in Victorville on this Easter Eve. It was a welcome surprise for Amber White on her way to work in Rancho Cucamonga.
Oh man, I was on the freeway for like about an hour just because of, you know, the snow and things like that. So for the most part, it was just a beautiful view overall.
The clouds lingered down low over our local mountains throughout the evening. And although we're getting a break in the rain for now, all the rain from early this morning filled up our local flood channels fast. By 8:30, a swiftwater rescue crew from San Bernardino County had to drop this boat into a storm drain in Bloomington to rescue 2 people who were trapped in a very dangerous situation in the raging water. Here's a look at all the rain we've received from the start of the storm to the midway point at this canal in Chino Hills. There were several nasty crashes across the Inland Empire during the heavy downpours, including this one on the 91 in Corona and this one on the 60 freeway at Reservoir Street. And drivers were forced to slow down as snow came down along the Cajon Pass. While we wait for the next round of rain on Easter morning, some say any amount of rain always has an impact in their lives.
When it comes in buckets, that's a little difficult, but my main problem with rain is my hair. It just goes flat every time it rains.
Well, I can totally relate with her. I am in the same position every time I'm out reporting in the rain all night long. So hopefully the weather here improves for Sharon tomorrow. If she's lucky, we might only have clouds out here on Easter Sunday. Reporting live in Rancho Cucamonga, I'm Nicole Comstock, KCAL News.
Nicole, thank you. Well, officials have closed down parts of Malibu Canyon Road due to the landslide concerns. It's closed from Payuma Road to PCH after today's rain. LA County Public Works says the area's increased risk of landslide. They continue to monitor ground stability there, but for now the road will remain closed until Monday morning.
Of course, stay with KCAL News throughout the night for your live Storm Watch team coverage. You can also get up-to-the-date weather conditions on KCALnews.com.
Okay, well, still ahead tonight, progress made in the Baltimore Bridge cleanup. We have the very latest on efforts to get a major shipping channel reopened.
And a dangerous close call, a man saved by seconds from a rolling blade. All right, of course, we will be checking back in on this breaking news of that massive condo fire in Lomita.
KCAL News at 9 does continue in just a moment.
I'm Jamie Yukas. Monday on KCAL News Mornings, from Hawaii to Syria to California and everywhere in between, CBS News correspondent Jonathan Vigliotti has reported on the climate crisis and climate change. Now you can read about his experiences in a new book. He'll join us live in studio to tell us about it. That's Monday morning at 9 on KCAL News Mornings, where we'll see you each weekday from 4 until 11 a.m.
All right, welcome back. Our storm watch continues right now. Let's take a live look at that radar. All that green. Yeah, we're still dealing with the rain, the snow. This is KCAL News at 9, streaming on CBS News, Los Angeles. Other news tonight, President Biden says that he will visit Baltimore next week following that deadly bridge collapse.
6 construction workers were killed and crews are still searching for the bodies of 4 of them. Baltimore officials say there is no set timeline for the port to reopen. The largest crane on the eastern seaboard is now in Baltimore and is being used to dismantle the collapsed Francis Scott Key Bridge.
And now we are getting our closest look yet at the destruction with a CBS News crew embedded with the U.S. Coast Guard. And here's correspondent Nicole Skanga.
The 9th busiest port in America now at a standstill. The container ship Dolly trapped under an estimated 2,000 to 3,000 tons of twisted metal. Before the U.S. Coast Guard can reopen this vital shipping channel, authorities are rushing to clear the debris spanning 700 feet.
We're about 250 yards away from the site of the bridge collapse. Behind me, you can see 1, 2, 3 cranes poised to lift the wreckage off of the container ship Dolly.
A temporary channel is now in the works to get smaller ships moving.
If we can open up another one that will help the economy here and move traffic in and out of the Port of Baltimore, even if it's not the deep draft, we want to take advantage of that opportunity.
Baltimore-bound container ships now being rerouted to other ports.
That cargo will be redistributed between the Port of Virginia, the Port of New York, and the Port of Philadelphia.
Baltimore handles more cars and farm equipment than any other port in America.
Baltimore is the largest in the nation and certainly by far the largest on the U.S. East Coast, and there isn't a single place that can replace them.
The port generates over $5 billion in worker wages, roughly $650 million in state and local tax revenue, and more than 50,000 jobs, including roughly 8,000 port workers, like crane operator John Zafia.
We're all wondering how long it's going to take to clear the main channel so we can get ships back in so we can work.
Nicole Skanga, CBS News, Baltimore.
Well, back to our storm coverage. Check out the drivers stuck in the snow in the Lake Arrowhead area. Chain controls are in place throughout the San Bernardino Mountains.
All right, we got to get back to our meteorologist, Olga Spina, with a check of this storm that's still not over yet, Olga.
No, it's not. It's a little bit more scattered in nature, but it is certainly still with us. So want to show you our radar. This is the 3-hour loop. We've had some thunderstorm activity. We have had quite a bit of activity, especially right across Santa Barbara County as you head into western Ventura County. Want to zoom in to where we're seeing some of those rain cells. So this is all pushing up to the northeast, and we're looking at that rain that's currently sitting just off the coast of Ventura County, moving into Oxnard in just about the next half hour. In the next hour and a half for Thousand Oaks, you will be seeing the impacts from that cell. In about a couple of hours, Simi Valley, then into Santa Clarita and Lancaster. You will be getting it a little bit later tonight. Want to look at this other rain cell that's near Long Beach, and that's heading towards Seal Beach in the next half hour, close to an hour to Westminster, about an hour to Garden Grove, over an hour to Anaheim as well. So we're continuing to see these cells move across Southern California. Again, this is not widespread rain. You can see at 11 o'clock, the bulk of the activity is going to be centered across the San Fernando Valley into downtown Los Angeles, moving into parts of Orange County and even the coastline, and that will continue to pull to the east as we head into the overnight hours. But as you wake up on Sunday, look at this, pretty calm conditions for most of us. We'll still see a few isolated cells moving throughout the day. Here we are 2:30, really not a ton of activity even into the evening hours, but we'll still get some rain, and then that tapers off late in the day on Sunday and then into early Monday morning. So most of Monday is going to be dry. We do still have that flood watch in place. That's going to continue through Sunday afternoon, as that's when we're still expecting the bulk of that rain. I want to show you the latest rain reports because we have some really good numbers so far. This is just since late last night. Crystal Lake, that's in the San Gabriel Mountains, more than 2 inches of rain. We're nearing 3 inches for Porter Ranch. Topanga Canyon also nearing 3 inches. Fillmore just over 2 inches, as is the case for San Bernardino. And Brea sitting at just about 1.5 inches of rain. Let's take a look at what we are watching. So we'll continue to see the on and off rain as we head into your Sunday, with still a chance for some thunderstorms as we have been seeing tonight. Some significant snow, about 1 to 3 feet above the 6,000 foot level. That's going to be about resort level. And then the cool temperatures that we had this weekend, mostly in the 50s, we've had a few 60s. It'll warm up just a bit for tomorrow, but we're really going to be feeling that warming trend as we head into next week. By Tuesday into Wednesday, hard to believe, but we're going to be talking temperatures in the upper 70s and in the low 80s. So it's going to be quite the drastic change as we head into the middle of next week. And as we head into still later in the week, I am still tracking another storm, and this one's going to impact us once again late in the week. So it's just back to back to back.
I mean, spring showers bring great summers. What is the saying?
Yeah. and you know, and we've been
spring
seeing
shower
this.
brings
This is a
flowers.
little, we're going to have a lot of flowers come May.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, thanks so much, Olga. Well, next here at 9, close call at a convenience store. A customer saved by mere seconds. The story next.
Want to get the most out of one sheet? Grab Bounty.
We're on Storm Watch on KCAL News at 9, streaming on CBS News Los Angeles. You see lots of green. That means rain, even thunderstorms there, lining up the radar. We'll continue to track the rain. Olga Ospina here tonight, tracking this storm throughout the Southland.
Right now to this story, a lucky incident in Oregon. A man was walking into a store in Eugene, and as soon as he steps inside, look at this, a massive concrete saw blade came flying after him. It missed him by seconds. It came loose from a nearby construction site, and it actually got embedded into the building. That's something out of a horror movie. I mean, it just, what are the odds? Look, he closes the door, watch it again, and it just comes right there.
It definitely
like
sounds like something from a horror movie, because you would expect many times a car. This is just a saw blade making its way so quickly. That man's so lucky.
Yeah.
Mere seconds.
Incredible.
In between that. Wow.
All right, double duty for SpaceX today.
And twice the mission success.
3, 2, 1, ignition, and liftoff of Falcon 9. Go Eutelsat, go Falcon.
Wow. SpaceX sent its Falcon 9 rocket into low Earth orbit today from Vandenberg Space Force Base. The rocket is carrying 22 Starlink satellites, and it was the second launch for SpaceX today. The other Falcon 9 rocket blasted off from Cape Canaveral.
All right, and we, of course, still have more local news coming up in our next half hour here on KCAL News at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, straight ahead, our breaking news coverage does continue. A massive condo fire in Lomita at this hour. KCAL News at 9 does continue.
And now here at 9:30, a massive fire at a condo complex in Lomita. More than 150 firefighters pushing back the flames in a massive response. We've been following this breaking news for the last few hours now as we give you a live look here from Palos Verdes Drive North. This is where that fire started just before 7 p.m., or rather some video from earlier tonight as those flames just ripped through the roof.
And you can see right now, this is live video from KCAL, and fire crews have made major progress on this. It is a third alarm fire. LA County Fire Department battling the flames right now. As you mentioned, Jazz, 150 firefighters. We know this complex is the Verde Vista condominium complex here in Lomita, Palos Verdes North Drive. And this is a map of exactly where this sits here in the city of Lomita. We do know that at this hour, we haven't heard of any injuries to firefighters or to people living there. We also have not heard about any possible rescues or evacuations. Fire crews have been in defensive mode for almost 3 hours now. But at this point, it looks like they are finally getting an upper hand on this fire, although when you get a live photo here, this actually a citizen video, I believe, from someone there on the ground. This is at the peak, this fire just spreading through this apartment complex so quickly, that roof collapsing.
And you can see some of the explosions that we were talking about earlier with those transformers as they catch fire and they just explode, fueling those flames. When firefighters arrived just before 7, they said that it was already intense flames, and this fire started on one side of the building and there was a lot of smoke, so they had to really jump on this very quickly. But you see how massive this fire was, just overtaking the roof of this condo complex. And they had to jump on the roof of an adjacent building to try to keep it from spreading there. We're trying to figure out exactly how those rescues and evacuations were made, how they were able to get out the animals. One stray dog was seen running toward a group of people, past all the flames and the water that they were dumping on this for all of those hours.
We know urban search and rescue crews are on scene, but they have not been able to make their way inside the building just yet because for most of the last 3 hours, fire crews have been just trying to put out the flames that have completely overtaken this building here. I should say these homes. At this point, as you can see now, we're just seeing pockets of flames, but you're getting a better idea of just the size of this fire and how much damage it has made. The roof completely collapsed. We know this is a 2-story building with the garage is sitting right under it. But take a look at that. This made that especially dangerous for firefighters. That there was, we believe, a transformer exploding.
Shower of sparks flying right past them.
Yeah, as these firefighters are standing on a ladder, this just shows you how intense this situation was at one point for these fire crews.
Wow. Yeah, and there's so much, like we were mentioning, on the roof, those chimneys that were burning, those electrical boxes and transformers. Wow, with how many
that is a
units are there?
explosion.
25 condo units in this complex, and all of them destroyed, it looks like. I mean, I know the bottom level, they said just knee deep in water with how much water was being dumped on this fire. But the bottom level is still there, but that top level just destroyed.
Again, as Jasmine had mentioned earlier, we are working on getting information of any possible rescues, any injuries, getting information on if people were able to evacuate on time. But this here, a live look at that situation right now. You can tell it is raining in that area right now, which is why we're seeing some of the glares on our camera. But fire crews still trying to douse these flames, do what they can to fully get the upper hand so that urban search and rescue crews can get in there and assess exactly what has happened, if everyone was able to make it out okay. But for now, we do want to move on to weather. As you know, we're seeing here, we're seeing it on the lens, all the raindrops. The skies out there, not dry in every part of the Southland, but we do want to get to Olga Ospina.
Yeah, and we are still seeing some of that rain. It's scattered. Some of us are experiencing dry conditions, but all those cells are moving across Southern California. This is our 3-hour loop. It shows you that thunderstorm activity we've had, especially across Santa Barbara, but even near the coastal areas of Los Angeles. So as we take a look at what is happening right now, you can see that the lightning strikes still over Santa Barbara. The ones in LA have now just turned into some rain, but we've had some pockets of heavy downpours, and also we've had quite a bit of snow. So we continue with that winter storm warning across all of our local mountains. That's going to include San Bernardino County as we head into parts of the San Gabriels. Heavy snow, especially above 5,000, 6,000 feet. We're looking at several feet of snow once this is all said and done. Out through the San Gabriel Valley and also through Ventura, including the I-5 corridor. So we'll talk about totals. Some places have already received an excess of 1 foot of snow here locally. So we'll take a look at that and what to expect for the coming week. That's coming up in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Olga, so much. All right, all of that rain has brought the increased danger of landslides in the Santa Monica Mountains. Officials are shutting down roads just to be safe.
Yeah, KCAL News reporter Lauren Posen continues our storm watch team coverage from a closure in Topanga.
Cold, rainy, and gloomy weather is sparking more fears of landslides in this Topanga community. Part of Topanga Canyon Road that connects Pacific Coast Highway to the San Fernando Valley remains closed because of one.
We had an alert at 4 a.m. about mud and floods. And, you know, people coming by and they're browsing, but the lot's been very empty and it's not business as usual.
The hillsides first came down on March 9th during heavy rain. From KCAL, you can see the hillside just crumbling onto the road. Caltrans says there's a tension crack 1,800 feet above the road that's pushing everything downward. Right now, it's so dangerous and unstable, Caltrans says workers can't even go out and clear the debris. That's adding extra time onto people's commutes, but there is a silver lining.
I feel like it's brought the community really close because it's like we're kind of just enclosed in this little universe. And so, yeah, it's kind of changed the dynamic of the neighborhood and community.
Saturday's rain touched every part of the metro on and off throughout the day.
The weather's been weird. Like, I want to say I'm kind of surprised it was raining a lot this morning and then it stopped.
People took advantage of any breaks in the bad weather, from taking photos for quinceañera.
It's not really wet around and my dress won't get dirty.
To running errands for Easter.
We got half of a ham, half a leg of a ham, and apple pie.
But as to where Easter brunch will be held,
depends on the weather.
With the rain expected to stick around, most say they'll just make the best of it.
Just going to enjoy each other's company. Yeah, it would be nice. Rain or shine, that's what it's all about.
Lauren Posen, KCAL News.
Of course, stay with KCAL News throughout the night for your live Storm Watch team coverage. You can also get up to the minute weather conditions on kcalnews.com. Very handy. All right, next here at 9 o'clock, the calm before the travel storm. It's not so calm after all. I mean, it's a busy weekend.
Yeah, you could call it the Easter exodus. The spring travel rush is on and travelers are taking advantage of the holiday weekend to get a head start.
Station Luke Robitaille have been changing the lives of kids for years. We have Chris Hayrie, who's going to show you how the echoes of hope continue to grow. That's coming up next in sports.